Okay, so we are going to make a dream catcher. These are things you're going to need. You can find them at any craft store. Any rings, leather, artificial sinew, or you could use just regular string. Kite string would be good, it's strong. A pair of scissors, a razor blade of some sort, exacto blade, and feathers. They come in different varieties of colors. So those are what you're going to need to start with. And also you'll need some glue. I like using this one. It's called Loctite. It sets up very fast, so you gotta kind of move quickly when you're doing it because it will set up really fast, especially if you're working in what I'm doing with the fan going. If you want a little more flexibility, this one's good. You got more playroom to work with your beads and feathers and leather and whatever you're gluing up. This is a good one. And okay, the artificial sinew I'm going to show you real quick. Okay, this here is where I bought mine at Oregon Leather. You could find it at a craft store. They have them. Joann's and Michael's. Okay, this is pretty thick as far as the size of ring I'm going to use. It's pretty thick, so I would use this on a larger ring, but being as how these rings are kind of small, I flatten it out with my fingers, and then I'll pull it apart. I'll find the middle somewhere, and just start pulling it apart. So actually, that's a nice piece there. That would work really well. It's not exactly half. That's about a half of a half. And that's what I have already done right here. I took this sinew, found the middle of it, pulled it apart completely, and then took that half that I had and pulled it apart, which gave me the thinner that I wanted. Because otherwise, if it's too thick, it's just going to be, when you're doing your weave, you're going to find out that it just overpowers it. It's just way too big, way too bulky. So anyway, and you need scissors. I think I already said that. Okay, so we're going to get started here. Get these feathers off to the side. I don't need them right now. Yeah, feathers, I mean, there's all kinds of feathers. Okay, with leather, this is deer hide. It comes in a roll like this. You can get that at any craft store. It's thin. As far as this way goes, it's thin. I like that because it's easier to split. Because I'll be cutting this down the middle, possibly 4 times maybe, depending. It's easier to work with. I like using this one. And for this size ring, it's approximately, you want to cut that as a taper there at the very beginning. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be pretty because it'll be covered up. What you want to start with is approximately 9 feet of leather and 9 feet of sinew or string. That's what you want to start with. For a 3-inch ring, that's what this one is. It's 3 inches across. And how they determine the size of the ring is they just measure from the outside to the outside is 3 inches. So that's what you want to start with. And I like starting right here, right where the weld is. They welded it. That's just me. I'm kind of weird. I like doing it that way. Gives me a good starting point. Okay, so I just kind of set it up. I come from underneath. You can start however way you want. So I get it set on there where you want it. Grab your glue. Set that right there. a dab of glue in there. Roll it over to the sticks. Just hold it for a second, it'll set up. Okay, so there we go. We got that started. Sometimes I'll go ahead and put a little drop down in between here and give it a little quick roll. Just kind of make sure it's not going to go anywhere. It doesn't take much glue at all. Just a little drop. Just kind of roll it in. So there you go, you got your starting point. So from here, we're just going to wrap this whole ring all the way around. And I like using, there's a smooth side here, and there's the rough side. I like showing the rough side. It just adds a little more dimension to it. So you just take, kind of pull a little bit, keep some tension on there, roll it around your ring. Come back through here. This is the fun part because you got all this leather to deal with. You just pull it through. Probably bind it up and work it with that way if you wanted to. Which I didn't do this time, but sometimes I do it that way. Roll it up and to where it's easier to handle. But just go around it, keep it kind of tight in there. I mean, you want it snug because the closer it is, the better it's going to look. That way you don't have gaps. And it looks really nice. Just keep wrapping around there. I'll sometimes kind of pull it to an angle a little bit and then push it in. Or you just push it in with your finger, either way. And just keep doing that all the way around this whole entire ring. And so I'm going to continue doing that, and then when I get to this last bit right here, I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to show you how I finish that point off. So until then, I'll be right back.